Lethal Company is a co-op horror game. You are a contracted worker for the company. Our job is simple, and that is to collect scrap, sell scrap, earn money. However, the industrialized moons that we'll be scavenging through are infested with monsters. This is the perfect game to play with a couple of your buddies. I suggest having at least three or a full crew. That way, someone can be in the drop ship, utilize the terminal, and try to open doors for you or kind of direct you through the facility.
Beat it, Mike. Beat it.
It's one of those you have to look at. If you're looking at it, it doesn't come.
You're going the wrong way, Mike. That's a dead end.
Ah! 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 There's more! What? What? The money you earn from successfully completing a run and not dying, you can use to purchase stuff like walkie-talkies and flashlights and guns and all kinds of odds and ends, and it kind of show up in these little things. It plays a little tune for you. I got it. Thank God for the scanner. The game is a little rough around the edges. The
Which way did you go?
way things look are a little bit strange, the art style, but I can't really fault someone for the art style. The interior buildings are all kind of randomly generated, and the monsters just seem to home in on a player, especially the later it goes. Some of the monsters, a little bit unfair, I would say, because they come at you kind of quick. And early on, you basically just got a shovel, get hit them with a shovel. You learn a few things pretty quick. There are traps besides monsters. The game doesn't necessarily tell you this, such as landmines. They do make a noise. Everything in this game makes a noise, but if you don't know what that noise is, stuff just kind of happens. There's random guns that are just on the ground on tripods, and they just shoot at anything.
There's a gun right there.
Damn, that thing was going wild.
I hit it with the shovel to see if I could break it. You guys want to come over first? I would get like behind the wall. What's facing the other way?
What? It does a 360. Along with some strange interactions with some of the monsters in the game, there is a bit left to be desired in this game. This is definitely not one of those games where I would play by yourself. I don't really see the appeal. The appeal is kind of just hanging out with some of your buddies and getting in trouble. I also think this will be one of those games where the more you play it, the less fun it'll be. Where sort of knowledge is kind of the enemy here. The more you know, the easier it's going to get, the less scary it's going to get, less jump scares, so on and so forth. But the early loop of the game is, I'm not sure how I feel about it personally. You start with enough money to purchase some walkie-talkies. We decided while we were playing the game that we weren't going to use outside voice chat. We weren't going to use like Discord. So in-game voice only. There is an in-game voice similar to Phasmophobia. There's radio and just sort of voice proximity. And it works quite well. In fact, the radio in this game, this cruddy $10 game, is probably the best radio I've heard from any game ever, which is bizarre. And it works fantastic. But everything else, I'm not so sure about. The scrap, it feels a little bit rare. It is very easy to die and lose everything and everyone. I realize the game is not supposed to be that easy, but we ran into some issues a few times where a large dog creature or a giant from the forest level would actually just sit on the ship. And basically, it meant someone was going to die because someone had to get its attention and try to run away and run around. And it turned into this whole process. I'm not so sure how I feel about all that. But everything else was pretty all right. There is no level design. It all appears to be randomly generated, except for the outside parts. The outside sections that lead into the facilities, those seem to be handcrafted. Well, I'm not sure if they're handcrafted, but they don't change level to level. The interior definitely changes. And while you're in here, there is a little bit of, again, I'll compare it to Phasmophobia again. The darkness is almost a little too dark. You can quite literally not see down a dark tunnel. It's impossible. There are some creatures that like to hang from the ceiling, and when they drop down on you, or the big spider things, they can kind of come out of nowhere. And in the dark, you can't really see this stuff, and it's a little bit rough. So when you're playing the game and you don't have a walkie-talkie, you don't have a way to talk to your friends. And the whole point of the game is to play with your friends. So it feels a little counterintuitive to not have this walkie-talkie. If, for example, your team gets wiped out the first time they're out, you don't have enough money to get a walkie-talkie, so then you can't talk to each other. And maybe that is how some would say the game is more difficult, but I would say the game is less fun. And to me, fun is more important than difficulty because I can no longer talk with my friends who are in the game. On that point, flashlights are the same thing. Some of the tunnels are so dark, so unbelievably dark, that it feels bad to play without a flashlight. And I don't want the game to feel bad to play without a flashlight. If the levels are going to be that dark, then you should give me some sort of flashlight baseline, because even if it is a sort of cruddy lower level flashlight that we have to pay more to get a better flashlight, whatever. It's a video game. We can add whatever we want to it. However, the tunnels are so dark, you cannot see anything. Nothing. You can barely even see the ground in front of you. And it sort of leads you into, well, what do? You can't see the monsters in the tunnel. You can't see the monsters on the ceiling. So if you play just to not do the dark tunnels, you cut off huge swaths of the randomly generated facilities that you can't do. And again, that's not fun. So I feel like there could be some changes done to perhaps increase the darkness level so it's not super, super dark, or provide flashlights for the players. And perhaps walkie-talkies as well. Because flashlights and walkie-talkies, without them, the game just feels bleh. And when you have them, the game is a lot of fun. It is immensely fun to run around. That does lead me to the other sort of negative thing I have to say about the game. The game, it is immensely fun. I cannot overstate how much fun it is. The more people, the better. But like I said, with the walkie-talkie and the flashlights, where the game feels not great when you lose them, that is true for a player. You are playing this game to play with your friends. And when you lose a friend, it feels not that great. We actually found ourselves, when we come back to the ship, being like, oh, we lost someone, or we lost two people. Let's just leave and come back so that they respawn, rather than going back into the facility to get more scrap or sort of push and try to retrieve bodies or any of that, because I'm not playing this game for a sort of high score or a challenge or anything of the sort. But there's no way to get a player back until you go back into orbit. So you have to basically end the level. And that is just ultimately not fun, because the levels are rather long, honestly, and it can be a while. A player will be sitting there for 10-15 minutes waiting for the level to end, which is too long. Maybe, and I realize perhaps adding a revival to the game would be just overpowered, but I'm not so sure how you would change it or what you would do. But it just isn't. It doesn't feel right when someone dies, and the reaction from the party is simply, let's just bug out and come back in so that we can, get everyone to play again. Because again, ultimately, we are playing the game to play with our friends. And when they die and we have no way to revive them or bring them back, it's just not fun. Same thing with not having a walkie-talkie, not being able to see. It's just not that fun, you know? Um, um, hello?
What?
Scared the shit out of me.
What the hell? Dude, that never happened before.
I'm dead.
Oh my god. Oh,
Kyle's
wait.
dead too.
Dude, everybody crashed into
Oh
him.
my god.
That thing like grabbed you, Kyle, like right when you came around the corner and just killed you. Dude,
Negatives aside, focusing on more of the positive aspects, the game is ultimately a ton of fun. It's not a totally unique idea. It's definitely borrowing from a lot of games, but it does a lot of things right. It's a scary game. The game focuses on jump scares, so even if you're kind of used to the game, you'll probably get jump scared often because there are things that sort of hide on ceilings or around on walls or things that just run at you really fast, or maybe it's too dark and you've lost your flashlight, or any number of situations. It can still be scary even for like a veteran player. Another thing I wanted to sort of talk about as a sort of positive aspect, the sound I found to be really good. So the sound in the game is interesting because when you're inside the facility, you can hear things outside of the facility. So there's like a foghorn you can buy on the ship, and when you blare it, everybody in the facility can hear it. The same goes for if someone purchases equipment. When the thing lands and plays its music, everybody within the facility can hear the music. And you can hear people shouting within the facility if someone's being loud. It kind of echoes around. It has this sort of tinny and grainy kind of sound to it, as if we were all kind of in the facility. And when you open a door, there's a really good like thunk. It's a pleasant noise, and the monsters are kind of skittering, and all of the monsters, everything in the game makes a noise. I Some horror games do this thing where when they'll just play fake sounds to fake you out. They want the atmosphere to be scary, so they'll input random growling or grunting noises or zombie moaning noises to sort of freak you out. But there's actually nothing there. I don't like that. This game doesn't do that. Every time I ever heard a sound, it was from a creature, which is nice because I really like to focus on the sound when I'm playing a game. And if I'm hearing fake signal inputs, it bugs me to no end. But this game, it didn't do any of that. It really did a fantastic job on the sound. Top notches, honestly, especially the radio. I'm not sure why more games don't do that. It really is. And to sort of end out the video, highly suggest playing the game. Highly suggest it. It is a ton of fun. Definitely play it with friends, though. Definitely play it with friends.